What if the real upgrade leaders need in the AI revolution isn't technical, but human? In 2026, the organizations pulling ahead are investing as much in judgment, adaptability, and meaning as they are in algorithms. Welcome to the People Strategy Forum, where we explore on how leadership should evolve when rules of work change. And I'm Sam Reeve, your CEO and host of CompTeam, where we help organizations design people-centered systems that sustain performance disruption. And a lot of companies are seeing this today. Today's topic is the human upgrade, new leadership for the AI revolution. And our guest today is Alfredo Borodowski, a writer and leadership voice who focuses on wisdom, meaning, and human development in an AI-driven world. So Alfredo challenges leaders to look beyond productivity and ask those deeper questions. What kind of humans are we becoming? What kind of leaders does this new era demand? And so if you're responsible for guiding people through AI and not just implementing tools, but having a stretch of how do we use our leadership in the best way that helps people really blossom in the role, this conversation will ground and stretch you. So let's go ahead and jump in. Welcome, Alfredo.
Nice to be here.
Yes, so Alfredo, I know that you have quite a journey that you've gone through in your life and that has focused you on really wanting to help organizations and leaders grow and in this world and in this complex world of automation and so forth. So you want to tell us a little bit about your history and what gave you the passion to really help leaders?
Yes, I'm from Argentina. I grew up in Buenos Aires. I came here to the States when I was around 20. And I came to the States to study philosophy. I was a lawyer in Argentina, but my was philosophy, and I came here to fulfill my dream and stayed. And I did quite well. The executive director of a foundation, an international foundation. I had my nice office in Manhattan facing Central Park. I made it. I came from middle class in Argentina and I was on top of the world when everything collapsed. And this was on June 19th, 2013, when I was arrested for impersonating a police officer. And I was manic. I was suffering from mania. I didn't know it. And I went to my psychiatrist and I lied because people lie to keep their mania. Because if you incredible energy and you lose weight and you sleep little and you achieve a lot. And then I lied and I was given an antidepressive, and combination gave me superpowers, and I began telling people how to drive, and I was accused of impersonating a police officer. And that was a big felony, no violence, but once you cross that line and impersonate a police officer is a big deal. And I was fired from my job, and I was on front pages of newspapers, and lost my friends, and went into deep depression. I mean, I have 4 cases against me in different courts, and I went into the deepest depression for months and months, and complete obscurity. One day I felt an energy, and I went up to my study and I found something on my desk that changed. I found a file, and I saw the results of a test on positive psychology. I had taken a few years earlier, and I saw the results of my top strengths: creativity, love of learning, curiosity, perseverance, and courage. And something, Alfredo, that's you. And I regained a sense of my strength. And a month later, with court cases and depression, I went back to school, social work, and became a social worker. And I said to myself, everybody has to know top strengths. If this is what they done to me, crazy. that everybody doesn't know them. And I would dedicate my work to give people the top strength.
Yes, and so Alfredo, you've gone through a period in your life where that was extremely challenging. You thought there perhaps is no way out, but you found
Right.
a way. And I think that's where a lot of people mental health is so important, and we're embracing mental health as concerned about here in the United States, maintaining that. How do we foster it? How do we do better? And I think that there's many executives out there, there's many leaders that are finding themselves in a very difficult position. They're finding themselves in a role where they're saying, my world is changing and I want to find a new path. And that's something that you've done. So you mentioned in your story, as far as finding the positive psychology and understanding your strengths and so forth, to help you forge through and find a new path. But you chose to help people go back to school to do that. Was there any particular drive that said, "Hey, I want to really work with people. I want to work with leaders to help them do better"? What was the thought behind that?
Businesses are the places where people have the highest inclination to try new things.
Hmm.
Businesses don't have the luxury to fall behind.
Right.
Good leaders and good executives, they're always looking for human behavior. Then I found businesses to be the most fertile place for new ideas and application of what I do. And yes, it is true that much of consulting has to do with crisis. And I think that I works very well for that. But beyond that, psychology works with making what is good great,
Hmm.
and flourishing and well-being and optimism and hope. And I love that.
And so, what is the first step? Do you provide tests around positive psychology to determine leadership skills?
Yes. No matter what, no matter the issue a company brings me or executive retains me, the journey always begins with discovering your top strengths.
Hmm.
Two-thirds of people in the US are not aware of top strengths. The rampant blindness of strength. And we also know from that the capacity to flourish increases 9 times just by knowing them. And if you apply them, two-thirds of people are at least 9 times below their potential because they do not know what they already have. The waste, and then the first thing I do is a clarification workshop on strengths. And there is an instrument called the VIA, the Values in Action. 16 million people a year take it worldwide. And I use that instrument, but I have an easier way to do it. That the first step that I have created, and if people listening or watching take the phone and they text me the positive, just positive, I will send you the 24 character strengths of positive psychology. There are 24, and a couple of questions that will allow you to determine your top five in 10 minutes. A life only 10 minutes of your time by texting positive.
Right, so it's a tool in leaders to really understand things. But as our topic is today, it's about that human upgrade and how to define new leadership skills in the AI revolution. And so right now, leaders are facing artificial intelligence effectively in their business, how to build and develop new skills, and so forth. So once you take the positive psychology test, you understand your strengths. How do we apply that in this new world?
Is technology. This particular technology creates something that never happened before. Steam machine, internet, to do what we were doing in a more efficient way. This technology is new like never before because it not only does what we do, it does things that belong to the category of who we are. Creativity, ingenuity, and even thinking. And you move into a few years from now, integration with our own body, in which it's going to be difficult to distinguish where the human begins and the mechanical begins. Then it's a new ball game in which this technology is competing with us, not on the action, on the doing, is competing with us in who is the human here. And as this happens, the human becomes smaller. Then what belonged to us as uniquely human now is shared with technology. Then the pie of the human, let's say, is becoming smaller. And what is going to happen with that is paradoxical because the human is going to become more valuable. The human touch, the empathy, the caring, the gratitude, which machines cannot give to us, is going to become more and more valuable. The companies that know how to use the human and upgrade the human and offer the human to the public are to become more valuable. The companies who have the highest efficiency on technology. And better leaders understand that because it's going to distinguish a good, great company now and certainly in the future in the market by giving more humanity and not only technology. And leaders are not seeing that. Some do. You look at Cisco, Google, Microsoft, purpose, chief purpose,
Yeah.
wellness, chief caring. Okay, they get it. That at the end of the day, they're going to be all equalized at the technology level. And the ones who are going to make it are the ones where people say, I go to this one because it makes me feel human.
Right.
That's what the human upgrade is. And the leaders who are good ones understand that.
Yeah, so really enhancing those skills that help us understand, help us manage other people effectively, help ethics, our business values, things around this nature. Is that true?
Yes, skills.
Okay.
I am, I like to call them humanity,
Mhm.
the human side of who we are. We have now what we call a psychological capital. The psychological capital is going to distinguish, and we know this from studies, okay? Serious studies, that psychological capital is going to distinguish companies who are going to make a good transition into the new era of AI and those who do not. And the four components of psychological capital are self-confidence, self-efficiency, hope, optimism, and resilience. I wouldn't call those skills. I would call them, the human engine. By the way, optimism and hope in this theory are very scientifically. For example, hope is the ability to be an agent, okay, to do things and to have multiple alternative paths to achieve a goal. And optimism, for example, is how do you tell yourself who you are after a failure?
Right.
But we know that these four components are going to distinguish a company that will make it or not in the AI. Then when a company brings me to work with them and they ask me, Alfredo, where do we begin? Well, the first thing you do is everybody in the company, in your team, from the CEO to the person working in the mailroom, should own their top 5 strengths and be given the gift of working at the best and feeling at the best and achieving their potential. And the management has to help them maximize their strengths.
Mhm.
Then work on psychological capital, optimism, resilience, hope. And at the beginning, they look at me and say, optimism and hope? How does this help a company? Clearly, I explain what they mean. But yes, it's not skills, it's not talent.
Okay.
Companies will have the same talents and they're going to hire great people. Okay. Talent is replaceable. Talent can be found on a resume. Talents can be trained at the workshop in one day.
Mhm.
The core human psychological capital that will distinguish a company from another in the challenge of AI is not at the talent skill level, is at the level of cultural human component. That's going to distinguish them.
Um,
It's also trainable. It's also trainable.
yes. But let's dive into that a bit. Right now, there's been situations where employees and a lot of younger employees feel disengaged from their work. They feel like they've lost motivation, lost meaning in their work. And so, what can leaders do in this era of automation to really help employees find their way, find their meaning, and have enhanced motivation?
I love these questions, Sam, so much. You know, the answer comes to one word: purpose.
Hmm.
Companies should have a clear purpose, and everybody coming to work should clear purpose. And what is purpose, by the way, because it's such a misused term? Purpose is giving the best of yourself for the benefit of others. Giving the best of yourself for the benefit of others. One thing I do when I go to a company, I use an instrument called the purpose factor. The purpose factor is a new instrument, is the first instrument to map the purpose of a person.
Hmm.
It delivers a 49-page assessment of your purpose from every angle you can imagine. And I was fortunate to be one of the first 100 consultants to be certified on purpose factor. I am a founding licensed consultant. Then after I work with the company on strengths, the next instrument we take is the purpose factor. Every person has a purpose. The company discovers what they are best at for the benefit of who and what. And a new chapter is developed in the daily work of people being motivated, loyal, and greater performance. Then we had to work in purpose. And by the way, the strength workshop is a 2-hour strength.
Hmm.
The purpose workshop is a 2-hour workshop. Something fantastic about positive psychology is that, unlike other consulting paradigms, it's not a year, 6 months. The science is so good and the instruments are so precise that you have a workshop of 2 hours, a workshop of 2 hours with some exercises in between, and you begin seeing the results immediately. You know, your question brings me to the three components: character strengths, your top strengths, psychological capital, and purpose. If you have those three, peak performance follows naturally.
Great. I think that's the big issue a lot of leaders are seeing is that there's just, how do we really find ways to pave the way for our employees that are losing the connection between what they're doing on their daily job and how it connects to society or how it makes a difference. And so it sounds like this purpose report that you have is extremely dense, and as you mentioned, there's several pages of information that really defines a person's purpose.
Yes. And we know, we have been saying this for decades, and we know it better and better, that good leadership at any level, especially leader of yourself, begins with self-awareness.
Hmm.
You can have the greatest talented person, if not self-aware, will be inefficient and will crash and burn out. And all these explorations of character strengths, of purpose, of psychological capital, they all go through the variable of self-awareness, emotional intelligence, context understanding, because the most amazing thing about the AR is that it's going to provide us content like never before. And when content is provided by a system, then you need to be better at context,
Yes. Hmm.
which is how to use it. We are great at creating new inventions. We are not so good at using them.
Yes. I think it was the IBM Institute of Business Value. And it said that 79% of executives say leadership capabilities are far more important than technical AI skills for long term success.
They feel that if they fall behind, and I understand the trap. It's easier to implement a system that to work at your people who are more hopeful, optimism, and more resilience perform better.
I think there's a lesson to be learned here is that leaders should, when they're thinking about the next piece of technology implementation, and a lot of people are thinking about AI and automation, is first we need to think about the human factor of that, how it's going to impact our people, and knowing if we know our people's strengths, we know their purpose, then we'll be better able to adopt that technology.
Really, AI is marvelous, but we have a term today, technostress. Then technology is creating this technology is creating a higher level of stress, anxiety, uncertainty, and even depression. The AI cannot solve those issues. Those are human issues.
Hmm.
Then if you're going to introduce the technology, you're going to have to be better at uncertainty, depression, and anxiety.
Yes,
You have
but I think there's also a piece that leaders need to think about. It seems so convincing that many people forget to ask, well, is this the right thing to do? So how should leaders prepare themselves to make those morally complex decisions that algorithms can't resolve?
You need to know your
Yeah.
strengths. You need to know your purpose. You need to know psychological capital. The question of leaders is also what are you going to do with the increasing free time you have?
Hmm.
Okay. Then AI is supposed to simplify processes and give us more free time. And what we see is that what people are doing with the free time, leaders are creating for themselves more issues to solve,
Hmm.
learning more programs. And that time has to be used for inner growth. It has to be used for, I don't know, different people have different systems. There are some people who do meditation. There are some people who do visualization. There are some people who work with a coach at their core human leadership components. There are some people who write thank you notes and make phone calls to their employees when there is a graduation and when there is something in the hospital. And there are some people who express it through gratitude, and they have a gratitude journal.
Hmm.
We have today an array of strategies and habits that increase your human core.
Yeah.
What happens is that we run as time is created for us, we run to efficiency as the core value, efficiency and production, and not growth, inner growth and human component. We have that temptation, we have to resist it.
Yeah. So in these times that are somewhat uncertain for humans need to find their purpose. That seems to be a time where it's more important, more than ever, to have a coach by your side. A coach can help guide you. Would you say that this is a growing need right now?
Coaches are doing well. Look, you need a sounding board
Hmm.
of confidentiality, a place where your confidentiality is somebody that you trust. I find it essential for myself. I have my coach. I go to therapy for the negative part of myself and the challenges that come from childhood, and then I have a coach which I bring more on planning and and the human part of my work and strategy and objectives. There are two different things that complement each other. In my new book, The Human Upgrade, there is a chapter on leadership. Is the number one issue that we know today from studies that people are looking in a leader in this AI revolution is trust.
Yeah.
Okay, AI is going to make me obsolete. The company is looking to replace me. I am disposable. Those are the fears that going through the mind of somebody, of all of us. Then the leader will have to make changes in the company. It's true. AI is going to replace people, and at the same time, it's going to create new opportunities, and the transition is going to be very painful, like any revolution.
Hmm.
But within that transition, the leader has to project and create. Trust has to do with transparency, not with not making the tough decisions, but there are decisions which are tough make with transparency and they are conveyed that way and not, and the others who do not. Google did a study about what makes a team to be the best team.
Sure.
And they did every angle, Sam, that you can imagine about teams. The IQ of the members, the experience, and they came down that what distinguishes a great team from an average team is what they call psychological trust.
Hmm.
Psychological trust is when the leader of the team creates an environment where people are not afraid to ask questions and to fail to learn.
Right. For
That's the
sure.
number. Then people today are afraid to make a mistake and become obsolete. And then when that happens, they don't learn anymore. Then the leader today has to keep, while changes are made, a culture of trust.
Yes.
Then self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and become the right leader for this moment.
Great. Well, I'm excited for your new book, Alfredo.
It's called The Human Upgrade, the new leadership for the AI revolution.
Hmm. Congratulations.
Thank you. And the book has chapters like purpose, gratitude, the best team for the AI era, mistakes we need to avoid on the AI era. Have a chapter on strengths, how to apply strengths on the AI times. And every chapter has all the science behind it, has a lot of case studies, Sam.
Mm.
And every chapter has, at the end, a workshop. It's coming in a couple of months. My website is postpositive.ab.com. Then
Nice.
I want the book to have a very good imprint in Amazon the first 3 days.
Great. Looking forward to that, Alfredo. Thank you.
Thank you.
So today we reframed the AI evolution as a human one. I mean, leaders must upgrade their judgment, their wisdom, clarity, and then also have a way to show people their meaning in their work. And it's not just about tools. I think that's super important to make sure we all understand. And organizations that invest in the human upgrade will be better to attract that great talent, retain top performers, and lead with confidence through certainty. So, Alfredo, I need to thank you for bringing up this important topic and helping us reframe this issue, because so many leaders right now are focusing on the technology itself, AI, how do I implement and so forth. But we really need to do, for us to implement this technology effectively, we need to think about the human impact and how the humans need to upgrade themselves to be able to navigate this. And as you mentioned, through their strengths, through their purpose, and finding meaning in their work. So thank you so much.
It is a pleasure, Sam. I want technology to succeed.
Mm,
But I want technology to succeed for the benefit of us becoming the best we can be. I still a believer. I am an optimist. Just know that you need to work both at the same time.
yes, agreed. All right, for our listeners out there, if this episode helped, please subscribe, rate, and share with a close colleague that needs to understand how these leadership practices need to be applied in AI adoption, how we need to really understand the human side of your organization. And we'll see you next week on the People Strategy Forum. Thank you, everyone, and take care.